Welcome to the Greenway with Mac, a channel that spotlights active transportation. And in this video, I'm showing you some of the fantastic bike infrastructure that you'll find in Vancouver. This video is part of a longer ride that I did, and this section is starting up near Stanley Park. I broke my trip into 4 sections and made a video for each, and the other 3 sections are called False Creek Loop, Seawall Path, and Stanley Park. The route in this video is here in red and runs along the northern border of downtown in the Cole Harbour neighborhood. The waterfront multi-use path leads us to the cruise terminal, where we will head south into downtown and end near the False Creek Loop Trail. The destination in this video is the Opus Vancouver Hotel, where we stayed while we were in town and had a fantastic experience. While there is still a lot of work left to complete in the downtown bike network, I think you will be really impressed with what I found on this trip. This waterfront path is called the Seaside Greenway, and it is the world's longest uninterrupted waterfront path, according to the City of Vancouver's website. The trail in this area usually keeps people on foot separated from us, which is one of its best features. The walkers and runners get the lane closest to the water, while those of us on wheels use the furthest. There was pretty good signage overall, in case you forget when you get there. The trail easily passes the 880 test, but unfortunately I was solo on today's ride as my kid chose a shopping trip to Lululemon over a bike ride with his old man. If you're able to drag your little one on a ride, then I know you would have an unforgettable ride just about anywhere on this trail. On the City of Vancouver's website, there are 3 suggested bike rides: the iconic, Seaside, and creative Vancouver bike rides. The site includes information about distances and difficulty, and you can find those links in the description. My series of videos are a hybrid of the Seaside and iconic rides. I think the iconic Vancouver ride is really great, and this video covers this piece on the east side. My series of videos shows you about 60% of that route if you'd like to get a clear idea of the journey. There is a bike rental shop right here, and we just passed one on the previous block. They are called Cole Harbour Bike Rental and Urban Waves Bike Rental, and both had really good reviews online. I noticed that each block also had a coffee shop, so this could be a place to recharge if it's break time. This construction site is a residential tower and elementary school. The sign said that part of the tower would include a YMCA kids club and childcare. The sign also said that it was expected to open in the fall of 2025, so it may be open by the time you watch this. This specific segment of trail follows Vancouver Harbour's southern edge, which forms the border of the Cole Harbour neighborhood. Cole Harbour is named for the fossil fuel that was once discovered here, but the neighborhood has evolved over time. What was once an area known for mining, whaling, and a military base has evolved into an important transportation and tourist hub. Residential towers and luxury hotels share the space with parks, a shopping complex, a convention center, and a cruise terminal. A seaplane terminal, several marinas, and a ferry terminal activate the spaces on the water. This stretch along the water is about 2 kilometers between the convention center and Stanley Park, which means that trail users have a safe, enjoyable route to access the park without the need to drive. Cole Harbour Seaside Park is one section where the bike lanes and pedestrian areas are really nicely organized. The bike lanes have a yellow painted line down the middle to divide each direction, and there are bikes painted in regular intervals that ideally should passively remind pedestrians that this area is separate. The trees and landscaping also segregate this area to physically keep the different users separated and safe. You might argue that the ground could be painted a different color, but I don't think the extra cost is necessary here. And anyone that often rides in painted lanes can tell you that bright green or red paint doesn't even help some users of the trail realize they're walking in the wrong area. Coming into view on the waterfront looks like another park, but it's much more interesting than that. The grassy area is actually the living roof of the Vancouver Convention Center. The 6-acre space has 400,000 plants that help to insulate the building, and its 4 beehives are used to make honey for the center's kitchens. Below the surface of the water are piers and a habitat skirt that functionally act as a reef, creating a home for shellfish. The convention center itself is internationally known for being the home to TED's main annual conference. Vancouver hosted the 2010 Winter Olympics, and if you take these stairs, you can snap a photo in front of the event's cauldron. While I did not see the full 28 kilometers of uninterrupted trail, the YouTuber City Beautiful recently rode the route and offers his thoughts about it during and after his trip. I've included his video in my Vancouver playlist, which I will link to at the end of this video. City Beautiful was going in the reverse direction in his video, and he talked about the start of the waterfront trail being by the cruise terminal, not Crab Park at Portside, and I agree with him based upon my own experience. While it's not really crowded now, yesterday there were a ton of cruise passengers and the trail route was really unclear. On foot it felt a little chaotic, so I don't recommend going further than this along the waterfront, especially if you are riding with less experienced people. If you don't mind crossing some intersections, I think the protected bike lanes in downtown are safe enough for most users. There is physical protection from cars, and in some sections, the trails are up at the same level as the sidewalks. Make your way down this short ramp and follow the green paint across Canada Place to the protected bike lane on Burrard Street. If you have watched the False Creek Trail video, then you would remember Burrard Street. Near the end of that video, we crossed over the Burrard Street Bridge. While we could connect these videos by continuing straight, my recommendation would be to move one street to our left, Hornsby, which has really good bike infrastructure, and that's where we are headed. I don't show it, but we are turning left here on West Hastings Street. Once we cross the street, we transition from the Cole Harbour neighborhood to downtown, which I also saw called Downtown West. Overall, this seems to be a popular location for visitors, with lots of hotels in the area, such as Pan Pacific, Loden, and Fairmont. Specifically, these would be good options for cruise passengers. But our personal recommendation is also the endpoint of this video, the Opus. I'll talk more about them when we get close. Now we are on Hornsby Street, and we are headed southwest towards False Creek. Hornsby Street is quite possibly the most important protected bike lane downtown, as it is the furthest west and connects downtown with the Kitsilano and Fairview neighborhoods to the south. Richards Street would be the other contender for that crown. There is a plan to create what is called the Butte Greenway, which would essentially be 1 mile of complete streets that also connect Burrard Inlet with False Creek. When finished, it would be the best downtown bike route to the west. Part of that project includes pedestrianizing the Butte Robeson Plaza, which I discovered by accident on a walk, and this is what it currently looks like. While I was able to use a bike for free as part of my hotel stay, another option is to use the local bike share, called Moby by Rogers. The system has over 250 stations, 2,000 regular bikes, and 600 e-bikes. And a huge portion of Vancouver is covered, from Queen Elizabeth Park in the south, to Nanaimo Street to the east, UBC to the west, and there are several stations in Stanley Park. It does not appear that there are any stations north of the Lions Gate Bridge. They have monthly, yearly, and per minute rates, with the e-bikes costing a little bit extra per use and by minute. Residents and UBC students have discounted rates for up to 60-minute trips. I think the bike shares are a good option if you're looking for an affordable and efficient way to get around the city. We sat in traffic on one of those double-decker bus tours and quickly learned that driving downtown is a bad idea. The city can't finish its network of protected bike lanes soon enough. The easiest way to use the service is to download the Movi app in advance. There is a station right here across from the church. Richards Street was my favorite segment of this whole ride, and a peek back in time shows how ugly this used to be as recent as 2019. I imagine it looks like a lot of the crappier streets in your city, and this shows how these streets are fixable with political support and concrete. What I liked about this street was that we were completely separated from traffic, and usually with some sort of physical separation. At Georgia Street, the bike lane gets better as we move up to the level of the sidewalk. To me, this is the gold standard for bikeways in high-density urban areas. One thing that made Richards Street so great were these mature trees. It started to rain while we were walking along this stretch on a separate journey, and these trees did a decent job of keeping the water off of us. On a really hot summer day, these trees would help keep you cool. They also improve the air quality, filter water runoff, and provide a habitat for birds. And aesthetically, I just think they look great. Rainbow Park is a vibrant community space that has a fantastic playground featuring in-ground trampolines, slides, and climbing structures. In the warmer months, the water play area is popular with the little ones, but it's not just a park for kids, as adults can recaffeinate and grab lunch at the cafe located inside the park. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share the channel with a friend. It's technically a block to the left, but we are basically in the Yaletown neighborhood. What was once an industrial area dominated by warehouses and train tracks was converted alongside the city's preparations for the 1986 World's Fair. Many of the warehouses are still here and are now filled with boutique shops, lounges, and a wide variety of restaurants. A metro station and the False Creek Greenway on the south end of the neighborhood contribute to its overall connectedness. The stadium and arena are nearby, so this is a good area to stay in for those events. The next street is in line to get the complete streets treatment as part of the Comox-Helmholtz Greenway. If you're booking a trip to Vancouver or another of the great cities of the world, then consider my sponsor, MacMillan Travel Design. For a deeper dive into the trails of Vancouver, then take a look at my False Creek Loop, Seawall Path, and Stanley Park videos. Those do not have as much narration as this video, but you can join me for the full trip and I'll share a few tips based upon my experience. Make a left on Davie and we are nearly home. Davie runs straight down to the waterfront, and this is the starting location of the False Creek Loop Trail video. The card for it will pop up at the end. Even though we had just one night, we fell in love with Vancouver. We stayed at the Opus, and our rate included a bike rental. Our service was absolutely incredible during our stay, especially from Matthias, Nelson, and Darren. Thanks again to them for making our stay a truly memorable experience. Enjoy the ride. I'll see you on the next city tour.